contraband into your mama's house. Whether it be a pack of weed or a nickel bag or whatever. And the next thing you know, mama's house is being sold on the sheriff's sale because her son came in there with a nickel bag of marijuana. These are strategies of taking the black community away. The charter school, I need to be careful with the charter school. That's another strategy. I didn't say oppose a good charter school. I'm saying recognize that one of the best ways to get rid of the black community, a lot of white people are coming into the black neighborhood opening up charter schools because it is a safe way to penetrate the hood and it is a safe way to get support from the people who live there. Who's going to oppose a school that's going to give black children a better chance than a public school? Nobody. And that's why charter schools are so Machiavellian of a strategy for gentrification. So let's say I'm a white guy. Okay, I come into inner city Baltimore, I open up a charter school, 85% of my staff is going to be white. They're going to move into Baltimore, they're going to buy up all the houses, they're going to take up all the apartments, and because they'll qualify for loans that you won't, they'll be able to rehab those rundown homes and turn them into something really nice. And before you know it, the property value is going up. And then the mayor says we're going to assess all the real estate at 100% of its market value. And they know how much black people make because you work for them. So they just price you right on out the neighborhood. And nobody even realizes that it all started with the charter school and the people who work at it. Our good brother Chukwe Lumumba, the mayor of Jackson, Mississippi, who I believe was murdered. And the reason I believe Mayor Chukwe was murdered, by the way, this is the same black man who did work with Tupac Shakur and Forsyth Shakur. I believe Chukwe was murdered because when Chukwe went into the hospital, I think he was complaining of chest pain and shortness of breath. He went in on his own free will. He walked in on both of his feet. He was having a regular day at work. He gets there. I believe they said that they averted a heart attack. They averted one, right? So if you averted one, how did another one come right behind it if you averted one? I don't think Chukwe was in the hospital more than an hour before he was pronounced dead. That fast? You said you averted the initial. Where did the second one come from? He had to go because he was mayor of the capital of Jackson, Mississippi. And I ain't got to tell you the symbolism of Jackson to the south and to the Confederacy. And you had a black revolutionary as the mayor. You also had a lot of people who wanted to take Jackson back. And while I was down at one of the Jackson State football games, I was invited by the president of the university to attend a football game. Guess who I met up in the stands? In the president's box. I met a woman who was part of this agency that brings charter schools into inner cities. And she approached me because someone told her I was a principal and a psychologist, and she said she was interested in talking to me. Of course, that never happened. I wasn't interested. But I knew what was going on. What they wanted to do was to get Chukwe out of office legally, is they wanted to bring some charter schools in Jackson so they could change the complexion of the city. So when it was time for re-election, instead of having this predominantly black city now, you're now dealing with a city that's 50-50 or might have more of an edge to the white voter than the black voter. I better watch those charter schools. And you know who's really getting done in by the charter schools? Black politicians, because they don't know what's going on. Somebody say, I want to come and open up a charter school. I'm a state rep, I'm a state senator, I'm a council person, I'm a mayor. I love this. This makes me look good. But you're not paying attention to the color of their hair and bringing it in. And so after your first year, after your first term in office as mayor, it's time for re-election. Somebody who don't look like you is running against you, and they might beat you this time because them same schools that you fought to get brought into the neighborhood, it is their employees who don't live in your neighborhood, but now do, who are going to vote to make sure you don't stay in that office. In other words, the average black politician is participating in his own political suicide. He doesn't even recognize it because he doesn't look long term. And that's why we as a people, we got to start looking long term. You got to step back and ask yourself, okay, what is the long term implications of this? I give you one. President Obama. He got 18 months left, right? Before he got elected, I stood back and I said, what is going to be the long term implications of this presidency after Obama is done? And you know what the long term implication of the Obama presidency is? It's this right here. By virtue of the fact that black people did not hold President Obama accountable. By virtue of the fact that we did not hold the President of the United States accountable, for the first time in American history, you will never, ever again be able to hold another president accountable. Whoever gets in that White House next, you cannot send the NAACP and the Urban League up there talking about what you're going to do about police brutality. Because Obama did nothing and you okay. That's right. You can't send another one up there talking about what you're going to do about the fact that only one black boy is graduating from high school. Only 3 out of every 100 black baby boys gets accepted into college. What are you going to do about the fact that emotional disturbance is almost exclusively black male and the learning disability is overwhelmingly black and ADHD has become nothing but a racial designee? What are you going to do about that?
That's right.
What do you mean? Obama didn't have to do nothing. And y'all celebrated him, worshiped him. If he can ignore black people, so can I. And our children are going to suffer for our ignorance. And I hope we learn from it. It's a bitter lesson. It's going to be a tough pill to swallow. But I hope we learn from it. I hope we learn the essential lesson of the Obama administration, and that is black people can ill afford to fall in love with politicians. You do not fall in love with politicians.
That's right.
Politicians, respectfully stated, are political prostitutes. And they will dance for the person who pays them the most money. And when you do not provide that money, they do not dance for you. And the reason why Obama ignored black folk is because we did not, in organized fashion, do 2 things. Finance the campaign, number 1, and number 2, sit down and have a contract with him on what we expected for our vote. That's what the Latinos did. That's what LGBTQ did. That's what the white women's lib feminist movement did. They had meetings with Obama or his representatives and said, you ain't getting these votes for free. Those speeches you gave, that was all nice and cute, but that don't mean nothing to us. What are you going to deliver? But it was black people without messianic Jesus complex that projected onto Obama this evangelical savior energy that he never purported to represent. And that's another one of our weaknesses. See, we got to change the paradigm for the next 150 years. What's one of the paradigm shifts we got to make? One of the biggest paradigm shifts black people have to make going forward as we reflect on this 150 years. For this past 150 years, you know how we got our leaders? From 1865 to 2015. I don't care if you're talking about Frederick Douglass, Marcus Garvey, W.E.B. Du Bois, Booker T. Washington. I don't care if you're talking about Malcolm or Martin or the Deacons for Defense or the new Black Panther Party. Guess how we got our leaders for the past 150 years? We prayed and waited for them. We prayed and we waited for them. In other words, we used a religious context to bring forth black leadership. In other words, we waited for a knight in shining armor to sweep into the ghetto and save us from our problems. Guess what we got to do going forward? The new paradigm is not to wait or to pray, but to make the leaders.
That's right.
We have to make our leaders. The Roman Catholic Church doesn't wait for somebody to find them. They find the children with the potential and they groom them, they nurture them. Every community does this. That's exactly where the Rhodes Scholarship came from. Cecil John Rhodes, one of the most wickedest white men to ever walk the earth, who murdered millions of South Africans, cut the breasts off of women, castrated males, forced them to work in the diamond mines. He amassed so much money that in his last will and testament, he said, I want to put part of my estate that I stole from black folks, I want to put it into a special account. And I want to call it the Cecil John Rhodes Scholarship. And I want to train white men who evidence the ability to lead well. And I want to train them in the art of white supremacy. If you don't believe me, do your research. He didn't call it white supremacy. He called it British imperialism. I want a scholarship program where we can train white males, Anglo-Saxons in particular, in the art of making sure the sun never sets on the British Empire. They make their leaders brothers and sisters. What are we doing? What scholarship program we have specifically for talented African American children to keep them loyal to us? You're going to get more Condoleezza Rices. You're going to get more Barack Obamas. You're going to get more Colin Powells. You're going to get more Clarence Thomases. You're going to get more Bill Cosbys and Oprah Winfrey's. Because you don't keep your children loyal. We got this thing where we want black folks to stay loyal because it's the right thing to do. Well, guess what? The right thing to do died with Dr. King. Now it's pay to play. You want me to be loyal? Show me the money. We got to keep people honest. Even our politicians, you got to keep them honest. What's another paradigm shift we got to make? Religion. We have to force the church to become an agency of change, not just an agency of complicity and hope.
That's right.
For the past couple of years, I've been going around saying black people give the black church $3 million every Sunday, collectively speaking. I found out I was wrong when I was in Mississippi 2 weeks ago. Brother pulled me to the side. He said, Doc, I did the research. One of your stats was wrong. I said, what's that? He said, the church stat. You said black people get the church $3 million every Sunday. I said, that's not right. He said, nah. I said, how much is it? He said, between $13 and $30 million every Sunday. In other words, I didn't see the O in back of the 3 on the 1. Look at that, y'all. You know what that means, right? That means we give the church on one Sunday, just one. On one Sunday, just one, not all 52, but one, we give the black church more money than the average gross national product of half the countries on the face of the earth. And what do you have for it? What do we got to show for it? I got mega churches in Maryland. What do we got to show for it? We ain't got no schools, but all this money changing hands. We ain't got no jobs. And here's my issue with the mega church. It's not religious, it's economic.
Yes,
We
it
got
is.
another system.
Yes, it is.
Okay? If we can give up the seat to the queen who just came on in. My issue with the mega church, we got that brother holding the baby too, y'all. We got it. Okay, she can, okay. The queen said she can. My issue with the mega church, brothers and sisters, ain't religious. It's economic. I cannot approve of any institution. I cannot approve of any institution in the black community that takes so much money and don't put nobody to work. How do you take that type of money? We talk about the Chinese store, right? They selling sneakers on the avenue, right? They operating the sneaker villas and the Foot Lockers, right? But you might see a brother or two in there working. He making minimum wage. He's never allowed to touch the cash register. We know that. But he does have a job. How many jobs is the average black church giving out? For the money you get, nobody goes to work. I need y'all to think about that. For the money you get, not your son, he don't get an after school job. You can't even take a minimum wage, $7.20. What's minimum wage in Maryland? $8.
$8.25.
Okay. Either way, it's less than $10. Right. You can't find $10 an hour to pay a young brother or a young sister to do something, file papers, answer phone calls in that church. And you know what else bothers me about the mega churches and the regular churches? There was a study done on the church operating plan. And they found that more than half of the black churches in America are closed more than half the week. How do you have a big piece of real estate like that empty for 7 days with black people in a crisis? Monday, there should be a meeting for the Parents Association. On Tuesday, there need to be a meeting to build that black credit union. On Wednesday, there need to be a meeting for our chemically addicted brothers and sisters to get them off that.
That's right.
Thursday, there need to be a meeting to motivate black parents to adopt and foster parent all these homeless black kids we got out here. You understand? On Friday, there needs to be a meeting on how we're going to take the community back from the brothers on the corner who think they own it. Okay? And speaking of that, black men, we got to be honest about something. And that is, we will never take the community back until we go to war with our young. And we're going to have to go to war with them. It might not have to be violent at first, but I think it will be in the final analysis. Because we've let them go too far too long.
That's right.
I was speaking up in New Jersey yesterday. On the way up there, somebody sent me a clip. Everybody remember the rap group, Niggas with Attitude. Okay? Well, there's a documentary coming. Well,